I failed my first 3 e-commerce side hustles. I had a store that was selling Apple AirPod cases. I had a store that was selling kids smartwatches. And I even had a store that was selling headphones. All of them failed miserably. I had so many ups and downs. And the worst thing was I was actually working as an e-commerce manager in some billion-dollar brands at the time. I was making them millions of dollars. I thought I knew pretty much everything and I couldn't fail. But every time I tried to scale my side hustle, something went wrong. I was spending money on ads. I got a few sales, but none of that money ever stayed in my bank account. Some months I got some orders, other months I didn't. And even in one of the stores, I got completely shut down, and other stores, they just stopped selling altogether. And this just kept happening over and over again. And to be honest with you, I was pretty embarrassed because I was inside these big brands that were doing 8-9 figures a year, and I was in charge of their e-commerce businesses, but I couldn't actually make my own e-commerce stores work. So I decided to take a bit of an advantage of the position that I was in, and I did some digging inside these brands to find out what it was that made them tick. I really wanted to find out what strategies were they doing, what made them different, how did they grow, why was it that they could scale and we couldn't. So I spent time hanging out with the CEOs of the brands. I spent time working with the marketing managers. I spent time in the fulfillment centers working with the fulfillment teams. I spent time with customer service. I pretty much spoke to every single person in these brands to find out what it was that they were doing differently. Pretty much anyone that could give me insight that would help one of my brands grow. I collated all of this and I realized that it actually only came down to 3 simple things. So on my next e-commerce venture, I took these 3 things, I implemented into my store, and I went from pretty much $0 to $1 million in less than 18 months. And because of this, I was able to quit my full-time job, run my e-commerce business full-time, launch this exact channel, and even launch an e-commerce academy where I teach people exactly what I did to scale my store. So in this video, I'm going to share with you what those 3 things are that I wish I knew before I failed on all my e-commerce side hustles, so that you guys have an absolute head start in growing your e-commerce businesses. The first thing I learned was brands that win focus on getting repeat customers. You see, getting customers costs money, right? We all know that. We have to run ads, we have to do creative, we have to do all the things to get our customer in the door. But getting a customer to buy from you again costs you nothing. You've already done all the hard work of getting the customer into your world. It's much easier to get them to buy from you again. And this was the secret that I realized the big brands knew that we didn't. You may have heard of a term CLTV. This stands for customer lifetime value. And basically what it means is that when a customer comes into your world, they have a value associated with them. If they buy once from you for say $100 and they never buy from you again, that customer's only worth $100. If however, they buy from you $100 one time, in 6 months another $100, and then in 6 months another $100, for the entire year, they're worth $300 to you because they purchased 3 times at $300. So the CLTV of that customer is $300. Now where startup brands go wrong is they only focus on that first sale. And when they do all their marketing and their investment, they think about just getting that one sale. But really they need to think about getting that one customer and work out how they're going to get them to buy from them time and time again. Now I'll give you an example of why this failed in one of my stores. The store where I was selling smartwatches for kids. Now it was a great product, really innovative, and we knew there was a trend of kids wearing smartwatches. These were the ones where it tracked their steps and they could share it with their buddies. Now the problem with that is that once they had the watch, they didn't have to buy anything else from us. They only had to buy that watch once. And we weren't able to get a second or a third purchase from them, which meant we needed to make all our money up front. Now, because we had to pay for that customer with ads, it meant that we didn't have much money left over when we sold them the product. Whereas if I look at one of the big brands I worked in, we sold pet food. Now, as you can imagine, pet food is a consumable product. Now, pet food is quite commoditized and you can buy it from anywhere. So what this brand did was they knew that if they could get someone in their world that bought the pet food from them for one time, that they could get them to buy from them time and time again and create CLTV. So what they did was they discounted the first purchase of their pet food and they made sure that they got them on subscription so that the person would continue to buy from them time and time again. Because giving away the money at the start of the order meant that over time, the customer was going to be worth a lot more. And think about it, dogs and cats live for 5, 10, maybe even 15 years. So if you're buying a bag of dog food at $30 a month, you can only imagine what 30 times 12 times 15 is going to be. The value of that customer is huge. So you should be prepared to give away a little bit up front to have them for a lifetime. Now, the second thing I learned was big brands realize that marketing is just testing. Inside the brands I worked in, every single week we would have a marketing meeting. And in that marketing meeting, we would look at all the campaigns we did in the last week. We looked at what worked, we looked at what didn't work, we'd look at the creative, we'd look at when we were sending things, we'd look at the audiences. We would look at pretty much everything and understand what was it that we needed to do more of and what was it that we needed to do less of. And then the following week, we would go and we'd do more of the good stuff and we do less of the bad stuff. And what this meant is that every week we'd just get a slight, gradual, iterative relative improvement. And over time, in fact, over the next 12 months, we would see that improvement would scale really fast. So it might feel like small improvements in the short term, but we actually got lots of improvements in the long term. Now, what I noticed when my brands, when I was trying to market, if I ran a campaign and it didn't work, I would just say that marketing doesn't work. I didn't look at it and say, well, you know what was it that didn't work about that? What can I change and what can I improve? So now what we do in our brands is we have a marketing meeting every single week and we look at the numbers in depth. We look at things like what time are we sending our emails? What do our subject lines look like? What do our ads look like? What do our hooks in our ads look like? What videos are working? What videos aren't working? And then the ones that are, we do more of, and the ones that aren't, we do less of. We never stop the campaign. We just realize that every campaign is an opportunity to learn what works and what doesn't work. Now, the third one was consistent with every brand that I've worked in for the last 15 years, is that big brands know their numbers intimately. You see, numbers in a business is like a scorecard. It's like the scoreboard on how well you're doing and how bad you're doing. And if you go to a basketball match and you look up on the scoreboard, you can instantly tell which team's winning. And that's the same within a business. They use that scorecard to understand whether they're winning or they're losing in business. Now, this really came true to me in one of the businesses where every month we would have a board meeting. And at the board meeting, the very first thing we would do before we said anything else, we'd put the profit and loss statement up on the screen so everyone in the room could see. We didn't talk about tactics. We didn't talk about strategies. We didn't talk about anything. We just looked at the numbers because the numbers gave us direction in where we needed to focus. If we were having a low profit month, we'd focus on profit. If we were overspending in ads, we'd focus on that. If we were over invested in stock, we would focus on that because the numbers knew where we needed to focus our attention because numbers don't lie. Some of the most important things that you need to look at when it comes to numbers is your cash conversion cycle. This was a really big one for us. Now, if you've never heard of the term cash conversion cycle, it basically means that when you buy stock, how long does it take you to turn that stock into cash? What we want to do is we want to make sure that cash conversion cycle is as short as possible. This is why dropshipping stores are really popular because you get the money before you buy the stock, which means you've actually got a negative cash conversion cycle, which is ideal. The problem is the margins on dropshipping products aren't so favorable, but the cash conversion cycle is. You've got a bit of a balance here. But what big brands do is they work out how quickly can we sell stock, how quickly do we need to pay for that stock, and how is that going to help our business? So what some brands do is they might get their stock on, say, 90-day terms, which means if they get the stock now and they can sell it within 90 days, they actually have a zero cash conversion cycle because they don't need to pay for the stock before they sell it. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a really important thing to understand. The second thing we used to look at was how much inventory we were holding. Well, was all our money caught up in stock? This is a really big mistake that I see for a lot of startup brands. And I'll give you an example of someone who's in our e-commerce academy. She runs a business and she kept saying to me, hey, Brendan, I never have any money in the bank. We're still making lots in sales, but there's no money in the bank. And basically what we noticed was that she was buying way too much stock at any one time. All the money she got, she'd go out and buy stock. And what she wasn't doing was looking actually how much months cover of stock does she have and does she need to buy it? So we did a bit of an audit and we had a look and she actually had 13 years cover worth of one item of stock. So she was over investing in lots of stock, which meant all her money was actually tied up in stock that was sitting on the shelves. So what we did there was we returned half of that stock. We got that money back in her bank account. We determined what her minimums and maximum stock levels were, which meant that she wasn't overspending on stock. She had a great cash conversion cycle. She had cash flow coming in and she could basically scale her business because she had this beautiful cash flow happening. And the last thing when it comes to about understanding your numbers is something called unit economics. This is knowing really well how much margins are in your business. What you need to know is how much you're buying a product for and how much you're selling it for, and is the margin there great enough? If the margin's too small, it's gonna be really hard to spend money on ads and grow your business. If the margin is great, then we're gonna be able to compete in the market and we're gonna be able to outcompete our competitors. So in my current businesses, what we do is we're continually looking at our unit economics and looking at, are there ways that we can increase the margins in our products? Can we buy them for cheaper? Can we sell them for more? Can we reduce those margins? Because understanding how much margin you have gives you the opportunity to spend more on marketing and grow your business. So they're the three main things that you need to know about. How to get customers to buy from you again. Use marketing to learn and understand your numbers intimately. By doing that, you will be able to grow your business sustainably and profitably. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to be an easy ride and you're going to be able to do this without any hiccups. Of course, it's going to be hard. It's not easy. If business was easy, everybody would be doing it. You're going to have to figure out the economics for yourself. You're going to have to figure out what marketing's working and what's not. You're going to have to figure out how you're going to get a customer to buy from you again. But if you did want a hand, I do run an e-commerce academy and all the stuff we've just talked about, I teach in there. But not only that, I teach you how to run your own Meta ads and Google ads. I teach you how to do SEO. I teach you how to do email marketing, set up your website properly. I basically tell you everything everything that you need to do to get your store to at least $10,000 a month. It's everything that I do on my store. It's everything that I've done in the big brands I've worked in, and we have it right there in the e-commerce academy. It's like going to college for e-commerce, and you're also going to be surrounded by like-minded individuals who are doing the same thing. So if you are interested in that, it's going to be the first link here in the description. I can help you get your store to where you want it to be, get through all these things, all the mistakes that I've made, I'm going to show you so you don't make them again. And if you do like videos like this and you just want to learn more about how to run e-commerce stores, make sure you click that like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, comment down below what you loved about it and if you want to learn more about e-commerce, or just check out one of the other videos that are floating around my head here.